Welcome to Currents Up Close, and another in a series of programs about education in Cedar Falls. And today our program guest will be Dr. Andy Pattee, Superintendent of Schools, Cedar Falls Community School District. Welcome again, Dr. Pattee.
Thank you. Very excited and honored to be here.
And this program today, we're going to be talking about something that's coming up for the patrons of the district to decide on, and that's a bond referendum, which will take place on April 5th.
Correct.
And so we're asking you to kind of give some background of what the requests are all about and what would happen if this bond referendum would be successful for the students of the Cedar Falls Community School District.
Yep, we are very excited to have a bond referendum coming before the voters on April 5th. And really this bond is going to focus on two different needs with three different projects. And you can see here what we've tried to communicate to individuals is it's really as easy to understand as 3, 2, 1. There's three projects that we're focused on right now, and that is North Cedar Elementary, to add on to that building and remodel parts of that building that have not been really touched for some decades. Orchard Hill Elementary with additions and remodeling to, again, bring that building up to current levels of expectations, as well as to remove the 6 portable trailer classrooms that we have on the back side of that building where students have to be educated in these trailers. And then also to build a new elementary school that will be located off of Eric Road in the southwest section of Cedar Falls due to our enrollment. You can see there are two critical issues that are addressed with this. Number one, overcrowding buildings. We are growing, and we're growing quite rapidly. In fact, this past year we grew 145 students, and since December 31st have added another 30 students to our district. And then to also, number two, create and overcome the inequities among our elementary buildings when it comes to facilities, to ensure that each building has the space needed to educate our students appropriately in this day and age. And then the final one, the property tax rate, that this is a property tax increase that will be lower than what we have asked in the past, and certainly we hope that will be supported by our community to fund these three projects to overcome these two critical issues so we can certainly support education the way that it needs to be supported as we move forward.
Well, with some of these critical issues to address, we're going to talk about the enrollment and the enrollment trends, and the current enrollment, past enrollment, current enrollment, and what you're projecting for the future. So we have a chart here that looks at some of the information you mentioned earlier, but in more detail here. So let's look at the enrollment growth of the Cedar Falls community, and this is always based on the first day of school, the district enrollment as it stands and projected to be. So take us through that.
Yes, you can see by this chart, historically over the last 10 years, we have grown a little over 850 students. So we know that we have grown. Space is becoming a premium, especially at our elementary levels, due to that enrollment growth. And as you said, that this is based on first day enrollments when we look historically since 2004. We do know that when we take our certified enrollment counts as of October 1st each year, those counts have actually increased. So we did grow between 2014 to 2015, 145 students between that time frame, and this does not show that much because it is a first day number.
We have another chart that we can look at trends that are happening here in the past and the future district enrollment, and you can see, as you mentioned earlier in an earlier slide, that the trends are upward and up greater than the projections were a few years ago.
That's exactly right. We have a demographer that works for the district. We hire them out of Kansas City. They work for a lot of growing districts across the Midwest, across the country, but certainly in Iowa as well. They work with, say, Waukee and Ankeny and the Iowa cities of Iowa, across Iowa, to look at a scientific approach to trying to project enrollment growth. They have projected that over the next 10 years, we will grow roughly 1,100 students across the district, and that is very rapid growth. On average, about 110 students per year. We do know this past year we grew 145 students. So again, we exceeded those projections this past year. They first started doing demographic work for the district in 2008. They came back in 2012. Their final study, last study, was in 2015. They have been very accurate through the first two studies leading into this past third study in 2015. And we look at these numbers not only being on par with the growth that we will receive, but they might even be a little bit low based on some of the numbers that we have already had come to our district. We've been working with some of our local contractors in our community, and they are seeing very similar growth numbers as they project and look at the future, especially with the number of new families, young families moving into our community with children that will be coming elementary age very quickly.
Well, Dr. Petty, you mentioned that there are three areas that are part of this bond issue, and let's talk about the cost of those three areas and accumulating to the total cost for this bond referendum and what will be put to the voters on April 5th.
Yep, it's very similar to what was asked previously, the last bond election that we held last June. However, costs have increased. We know that the cost of construction continues to escalate and go up. However, we are asking for less of a bond overall cost from our taxpayers. And really the background behind that is we have had increased enrollment. So we do have some additional funding that comes to us that we can put towards facilities. And the second aspect is that we are expecting to save additional funds the next 2 years by trying to reduce some of our expenses in our physical plants categorical funding to ensure that we can shift those funds to offset the cost of a bond. You can see the cost for North Cedar, the cost for Orchard Hill, and the new elementary comes to a total of a little over $40 million. We're asking for a $32 million bond to be approved by the community, so those three elementaries can be at the level of our other elementaries across our community, but also handle the enrollment growth and the overcrowding that we currently have across the district in our elementary buildings.
Just really emphasizing, however, the bond that you're going to be putting to the voters would be actually $32 million. And you just mentioned how you arrived at that figure and what it will look like to voters at that time. Now, we also have, looking at some reality of some of the things you mentioned, why this is important for those projects that you mentioned. We've got some slides here that will take us through some of these things. You might comment on those as well.
Yes, this is really our current reality, and you can see some different pictures listed on this slide showing some of our reality. Number one, a lot of people do not know that we do have 6 classrooms that are held in trailers at Orchard Hill. We have 5 different trailers that are positioned behind Orchard Hill. Actually, the board just is starting the process to place another trailer, 2 classrooms, at Southdale this coming summer to house 2 classrooms within another trailer. You can see that in 2 of our elementaries, Orchard Hill and North Cedar, the picture on the upper right shows one of our gymnasiums. There are times that our physical education instructors have to set up and tear down PE equipment, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times a day because those spaces are used for multiple purposes. You can see that we have to store things that take away from not only the safety and security we want in our buildings, but at times also takes away class time. Down in the bottom right, you can see we have people that meet in very cramped quarters at times where it's not always conducive for collaboration, for conversation and communication that we expect amongst all of our staff. And since we pride ourselves on being a professional learning community, really focusing on collaboration, critical thinking, communication amongst all of our, not only our teachers, but our students, you can see in the bottom left, one of our elementaries that have been recently remodeled, a collaborative working space. It's a space where kids can not only have enrichment opportunities, but sometimes already as well as intervention opportunities, but also where people can come together to really focus on hands-on learning opportunities and projects outside of a normal classroom activity. This is where students can go and really use not only their mind but their hands, as well as the collaborative approach to exhibiting learning at a deep level. So that's part of our current reality. I think the next slide shows another current reality. You see, we have students that come in and out of our portables, and you know, when they go out for specials, they go out for lunch, they go out for recess, they have to go through a procedure and a process to get ready, which takes an extensive amount of time away from learning. You can see different pictures on the right-hand side that just show environments that aren't necessarily indicative of what we want them to be, expect them to be when we talk to our staff and our students about focusing on skill by skill, student by student, ensuring every one of our kids learn at high levels. And when you don't have the spaces that allow that, you certainly struggle.
Here we have a video recently of students going in and out of the portable classrooms, and it kind of shows you this happens several times a day. And so there's some instructional time that certainly is taken up by this. This happened to be a very snowy recent day, but it does show how students are moving about out into these portable classroom environments. Just an example of the current reality.
Yep.
Go ahead.
You can see several of the students as they come in and out again multiple times for specials. You can see within a trailer there is going to be just room for those 24 to 28 students in that class section. So when they come out for band, when they go to PE or music or other specials, they actually have to get dressed, they have to get ready, they have to gather their things and go outside to go to the regular building, and then obviously dress and get ready to come back into the portable, the trailer outside. So it really is disruptive to the learning environment. Certainly, again, not indicative of the high expectations we have as a district, as individual buildings for student learning.
Well, we also have then a question, Dr. Pattee, of which leads us to one of the goals is to improve the safety for all students and staff. Yep. In these environments that we have. So we've talked about Orchard Hill. You mentioned several ways of getting to the portable classroom and things like that. You've talked about North Cedar with storage facilities, and then for the new elementary building, which you would say, well, why is that a safety factor? Well, obviously the location, we're going to talk a little bit greater detail the second half of the program about that site selection. But certainly all these are very important in the overall safety aspect.
Yeah, safety is one of our greatest priorities that we have as a school district, and certainly has been a significant investment over the course of the last several years. Work that will be done at these three locations certainly will be improvements that are needed for safety. The entrances will be redone at Orchard Hill and North Cedar. We've done that in the other elementaries as well as the junior highs. So when you come and visit the school day, you actually enter through the office and have to visit with somebody to be able to sign in and not just enter directly into the building. We will have doors that will be secured and have much less availability for access from individuals from the outside. Right now, due to the fact that we have trailers, there are doors that are unlocked. We have people that are there, but certainly it creates a safety concern. And also then just the visibility with different entrances, with newer designs, with other expectations that are present not only locally but nationally, we can build in that line of sight to ensure we know who's coming in, at what times, and for what purposes.
Well, before we go to break, we want to just say in the latter part of the program, we'll be having some more detailed look at some of these three various projects that we have in this upcoming bond referendum, which will come about on April 5th. We'll return after the break.
Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
George, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Currents Up Close. And today's program, we have our guest, Dr. Andy Patty, Superintendent of the Cedar Falls Community School District, and we're talking about the upcoming April 5th bond referendum. We mentioned in the first half of the program about the cost factor, the $32 million. We're going to talk about the tax impact a little bit later on in the program. But we also have a look at some of the things that are happening right now, which is forcing the district to do things to accommodate this burgeoning enrollment. And we're going to start this segment of the program by looking at some of the portable trailer facilities, as you mentioned. And we have a slide here that talks about the cost of a portable classroom.
Yes, we have gone through a process recently and will finalize here in the next several weeks of adding another trailer at one of our rapidly growing elementary schools, Southdale, here in the near future. That'll take place this summer. And we know that the cost for adding a portable is expensive, and truly those are dollars that are never going to be recouped. One of the things that I say quite frequently to individuals and to groups is typically we can add on a classroom to a building at a cost of about $250,000 that'll last 50 years. When you look at bricks and mortar, having a classroom that's going to be conducive to educational practice for years to come. It costs us to put in a portable for 1 year about $200,000, and you can see here the breaking down of some of those costs. The cost to set that trailer is about $150,000, and that is for the foundation, to move in all of the electrical and other utility costs to that, to ensure that we have the right amount of electricity and heat and all the other aspects when you look at ramping and sidewalks to get into that trailer. And then, because we lease those trailers, it's about a lease cost of about $50,000 per year. This is for a double trailer, so there's going to be 2 classrooms within this trailer sitting outside of Southdale. And this is, again, costs that we'll never recoup that could be used for much more sustainable long-term needs of the district as we look at our enrollment growth and overcrowding that we're facing as a district.
So really, with a classroom, you can just divide this in half, and it's about $78,000 for each classroom that you're going to be looking at in this respect. If the bond referendum passes and the changes are made that you mentioned earlier to Orchard Hill, to North Cedar, and the new school, will this lessen the need for portable classrooms, trailers as you call them, down the road?
Yes, our focus as a district is to ensure that we adequately handle our growth, but we also know that comes with a certain amount of capacity in our buildings that just need to be expanded. With our 6 classrooms that are in trailers at Orchard Hill, the additions and remodeling to Orchard Hill would allow for those students to be in classrooms within a building. We know that the overcrowding that we currently have at Southdale, because that building is over capacity, obviously with a portable being placed there. The overcrowding at Lincoln Elementary, we have collaborative spaces at Lincoln, other spaces that weren't designed to be classrooms that have been renovated and retrofitted to be classrooms, and that building is significantly overcrowded at this time. So the new building then will offset that overcrowding that's occurring in other buildings, plus then allow us to handle some of the future growth that we know will be occurring in Cedar Falls, number one, because of the quality of our education, but number two, just the quality of life that we offer across our community for employment opportunities, housing, as well as those recreational opportunities. So this would handle those overcrowding needs that we see as a district.
We talked in the first half of the program in generalities about the three phases of the project, North Cedar and Orchard Hill and the new school.
Yep.
And let's get into a more detailed look, and starting with the North Cedar master plan. You have developed, the district has developed a master plan for each of these. So walk us through the areas here that of the current existing building, and what are plans for developing and really remodeling and bringing this facility up to date.
Yeah, and these are very high-level schematics. These are not detailed plans by any means. This is looking at the space that is needed in this elementary to ensure that we have those collaborative spaces, those maker spaces, places where kids can use their hands, their mind to be able to showcase their learning at the levels that we expect. So there are different areas on this, orange areas that will be remodeled areas. There are some green areas that will be areas that will need to be either torn down or rebuilt to ensure that we have, that we meet current building requirements, but also code requirements that are in place. But also, most importantly, handle the enrollment growth, give students the opportunities for the educational expectations that we have so we can hit and reach those students skill by skill, student by student, so they can utilize all their learning effectively in the right areas. This is such a difficult concept to describe, but education has changed dramatically in the last 30 years, but also in the last 5 years. We don't and can't expect students to be in seats and rows for 7-8 hours a day. And we expect students to be able to be collaborative, use their hands, use their minds in unique ways. This is an exhibit, or excuse me, an exterior rendering of what North Cedar could look like with this high-level schematic plan. It allows more natural light. It changes some of the roof line to be much more effective and efficient.
Then we move on to looking at Orchard Hill with a master plan here, and you've spent some time talking about the portable or trailer classrooms, and this building also has had some needs and has some changes over the years, but enrollment is very steady at this building. Yep. And expected to grow, and so explain a little bit about the schematic here of the Orchard Hill master plan.
Yeah, you can see again, it's the gray, orange, and green. Orange would be some of those areas that would be remodeled. Green would be those areas that we would add on to this building. And again, we have a total of 6 classrooms that are right now in trailers in this building, and we would need to be able to add on fairly significantly to this building to have the space to accommodate the necessary capacity within this building for the students that do attend Orchard Hill. So again, it would bring this building up to the level to have collaborative spaces, to be able to allow this building to have those maker spaces so kids can be able to utilize again, their minds, their hands, to be able to showcase their learning in unique ways by creating projects and examples of what we expect of them.
We also have an exterior viewpoint drawing a schematic of how the building would look, and explain that a little bit.
This is really an exciting rendering, and again, very high-level rendering of what this building could look like. And why this is exciting is this is on the back side. So if you go to the back side of Orchard Hill and stand in this location looking back, you'll actually see multiple trailers in your way blocking the view of the building. So that's why this one's exciting, because it takes away those trailers and shows what this building could look like, again, with the natural light, with the additional learning spaces necessary to educate students in this day and age.
Then on the final, the third of the 3 portions that you mentioned earlier in the program, the conceptual site of the southwest building, a brand new building. And if viewers haven't been out to the southwest quadrant of the city of Cedar Falls, there is tremendous growth in that area. And also a site which would be in cooperation with the city of Cedar Falls, and which has happened so often to many of our elementaries, going way back when, that there have been community spaces hooked onto those, and it's really an ideal for residents in those areas to have that park-like space as well as the school space. So this would be the conceptual site for the new building on southwest Cedar Falls.
That's exactly right. Number one, this is a collaborative approach with the city. We own 20 acres, they own 20 acres, and the approach always is to have green spaces around those elementary sites. Not only that benefits the district, but certainly the community as a whole, but also those neighborhoods. We do know this is a rapidly growing area. Hopefully people have an opportunity to drive out there to see the development that's occurring, the number of homes that have been purchased and built in the areas directly south of that elementary site, but also to the east and northeast. We know that there are multiple families, multiple children moving into this area, which certainly would fill an elementary very, very quickly as we look at the built-out plans and schematics of each of those neighborhoods out there.
Without going into great detail, what would this building look like? Would it be a Southdale? Would it be a Hanson? Would it be a Lincoln? Or is it totally new in conceptual design?
You know, the hope is it would be a single level building, because we know with elementary kids, if you have the space, it's usually best to have something on one level. The hope, again, would be that it's going to be something that's going to have a lot of collaboration spaces, utilize the space effectively, and have those spaces where students can go and have the opportunity to not only be in a class to get some direct instruction, but areas that they're going to go to have more collaboration, to be able to build things, to use their hands, so they can showcase their learning in again, those unique ways that we expect students to use in this day and age.
Well, as we draw all this together in our final couple of moments here, Dr. Pattee, we certainly want to look at the tax impact for patrons of the city of Cedar Falls, the Cedar Falls Community School District, I should mention, because we do have about 600 homes in the city of Waterloo and some in rural areas as well too. So when I'm talking here, I'm talking about the Cedar Falls Community School District and the voters who are eligible to vote in that upcoming April 5th referendum. So these are the figures, and walk us through that impact for taxpayers of this district.
Yep, one of the things that we talk about when we talk about tax impact, number one, we've not had a bond that's been passed or been to the public since 1976, so it's been a while, and it's one of those things that we look at this as an investment, continued investment into the facilities and educational components across Cedar Falls. But you can see here there's an assessed property value. That is not the appraised value of your property, it's the assessed value. There is a statewide rollback for residential property, so you have to take that off of your assessed value of your property. And that would be times the tax rate that this levy would be for, which would be that $1.23 per thousand, and you can see what the tax impact would be per each home. An average assessed home in Cedar Falls is $156,000. That's the average assessed valuation of a home. So this would be roughly about a little less than $9 per month for an average home in Cedar Falls.
So with all this information, coming up with the April 5th referendum, where really voters can decide whether they're going to support this project. You have presented the facts today very well, Dr. Andy Pattee.
Thank you.
Superintendent of the Cedar Falls Community School District. And a viewer would like further information, they can contact either websites or contact you directly. I know you're going to be making a number of presentations in the community, and we'll take on more if your time schedule would permit. So with that, we thank you for appearing for us today on Currents Up Close and the Cedar Falls Community School District.
Thank you.